periods join that record when, if you look over a period of about 9 to 10 years and look across most of the country, certainly over the summer rainfall parts of the country, that you'll find that for one period of 9 to 10 years, the rainfall will be below normal, and then the next period, the rainfall will tend to be above normal.
Let's have a look at some of those diagrams which you have.
Okay.
And perhaps you could address those particular issues and point them out to us.
Right. Certainly, well, if you see that we start from about 1906 to 1915, we were in a dry period. We then moved at a later stage, following 10 years, into a wetter spell. The late 20s and the early 30s were one of the worst droughts on record. We then moved...
Especially 1933, I believe.
1933 was exceptionally a dry year. We've rarely...
coincided with the Great Depression.
That's correct, unfortunately.
Yes.
Then the late 30s and early 40s were wet. Moving into the rest of the 40s, early 50s were dry. And so on, we move up until during most of the 1970s, we've had a wet period, and recently we've been in a dry period. But built on that is a dark black line, which shows the underlying rhythm which exists within that pattern, and which shows the same kind of pattern as we were discussing just earlier, with drought periods being succeeded by wet periods and followed again by further drought periods.
How many years are there in each of these phases?
There's roughly between 8 and 10 years in each phase.
And at present we are coming through, if this is has predictive value, we are coming through towards the end of a dry phase.
Right, that's correct. If you follow the question marks on the right-hand side of that diagram, you will see that that is an extrapolation from about 1983. And that suggests that rainfall during the majority of the 1980 decade will be below normal. And I don't think we can really argue with that conclusion at this stage.
Yes.
With the extrapolation, it would suggest that around about the end of this decade, 1989, 1990, we will then be moving into a wetter period.
Has this rhythm, which seems to be emerging from this discussion, has this been upset at any stage, or is it a perfect rhythm?
There appears to have been an upset around the turn of the century, when, according to Professor Tyson, he interprets the data in terms of 2, unfortunately, dry periods successively. So a period of approaching 20 years when the rainfall was below normal. Other than that, we are not aware of any upsets.
And is there any significance in the fact that we now have had many stations around the country producing above average results over the past month or so? Rain seemed to have come earlier to the Highveld. We have these devastating floods in Natal, and many people are saying this heralds a certain prognosis for the summer. Can we say that kind of thing or not?
I wish we could, but unfortunately the fact that we've had heavy rainfall in the spring this year tells us no more about what the rainfall is likely to be during the coming summer than if we'd had no rainfall at all during this period. There's no technique that I'm aware of by which we can actually forecast the summer rainfall from the early summer rains.
Yes, yes. I'd like to thank Dr. Harrison very much indeed for joining us, and do take care.
Good advice in today's circumstances. Well, we're going to take a break for a moment or two, after which we'll give you a news update.
Uniroyal proudly presents the designer shades of black. First, Sonia with the ever-popular Midnight Black. Marie is carrying the new Tarmac Black shade. And Desiree looking very smart with a very, very off-white. Fit Uniroyal, and you're looking good.
You know, most people understand that plaque is so soft that just proper brushing helps remove it. But tartar is a much tougher problem. It's a hard and ugly build-up on your teeth, and it takes a visit to your dentist to scrape it away. But here's something to smile about. Colgate Tartar Control Formula in the gold box. It's a unique fluoride formula specially developed to help fight the regrowth of tartar. And it's the only toothpaste in South Africa that has published clinical trials to prove it. Colgate Tartar Control Formula in the gold box. No toothpaste is tougher on tartar.
To make the new Ford Meteor LX the most affordable car in the country, we really felt some of her features had to go. Like her overhead cam engine, and her ventilated disc brakes, and her remote-controlled mirrors, and her intermittent wipers, and her 5-speed gearbox, and her childproof locks, and her remote release fuel flap, and even her boot. But then we felt if even one of her features went, well, she simply wouldn't be a Ford. So we kept them all, including the price.
The all-new Meteor LX, only from
Ford, right for the times and right for you.
Finally, in tonight's program, a news update. The death toll in one of South Africa's worst natural disasters has risen to at least 60. The worst flood disaster in living memory has caused damage amounting to millions of rand. Many thousands of people have been left homeless, and many farmers have suffered severe stock losses. Large parts of Natal and KwaZulu have been declared disaster areas. The State President P.W. Botha has expressed his own and the government's sympathies over the loss of life, injury, and personal loss caused by the flood disaster. President Botha said the government departments concerned had already been asked to give urgent attention to the matter and to start rendering emergency aid immediately in all affected areas. President Botha says full details of comprehensive aid measures will be announced by the government soon. Natal authorities have warned the public that water sources have been contaminated by the flooding of sewage systems and water purification plants in the area, and it suggested that all water should be boiled or have small quantities of bleach added to it to render it safe. Dangers could include a variety of infections, including the risk of cholera. In one of the day's first and most dramatic rescue operations, 150 people were rescued from Durban's Mondi paper factory. With parked vehicles submerged in the factory's parking lot and no other means of escaping the floodwaters, employees made their way onto the factory roof, from where they were winched to safety. Inflatable dinghies, too, were launched to pluck employees from the rising water. A company spokesman said this afternoon that the floodwaters were still pouring unabated through the factory's windows. Members of the public have been requested by Mondi to report the finding of bright blue plastic drums swept away by the floodwaters. The unmarked drums contain peroxide, a concentrated paper bleaching agent. Handling the liquid without proper protection is likely to cause burning. Well, that's it.
Yes, not much for your comfort tonight, I'm afraid, but we'd like you to know down there in Natal that the whole of South Africa is thinking of you.
Indeed we are. Have a very good night.
Take care.
You're with the National One. If you've just tuned in, here's a look at what's in store for the